What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Career Mode. This is episode number 11, and we're starting today's episode off with a look at the league table. As you can see, 11 games to go in this season on a really poor run of form. Taking on the Canaries away at Carrow Road for today's episode opener. We would know that come the end of 90 minutes, we could be in the relegation zone. We're 2 points clear of Watford in 18th place, but they've also got the game in hand as well. We're 3 clear in Norwich and Leeds as well, but due to the goal difference standings, if the Canaries will beat us here in East Anglia, we'd drop into the bottom 3 for the first time in the calendar year. So massive games heading into. As we know in the league, we've been in really poor form since the calendar year began, really. And of course in midweek we beat Swansea by 4-0 in the FA Cup last 16. That was the boost we were looking for heading into this game to make you feel a little bit more confident. And 26 minutes in to the game, we would get the opening goal. It made the brighter start to the game. We'd look the better team. He had the first chance, he fluffed his lines, but he wouldn't miss again. Ivan the Shocker Toney. You'll notice this season when Pontus Jansson's been out of the first 11, I've given Toney the armband if Jensen isn't starting as well. He's got the leadership trait. We know he's a leader. We know he's a big game player. We know he's a star. Ivan Toney heading in the Embuemo cross to the back stick for his 10th goal in the Premier League this season. And listen, we know this guy was never going to win the Golden Boot in Season 1, but I'll say this right now. Whatever division Brentford are in next season, Ivan Toney will still be playing Premier League football. That goes for the game and for real life as well. Still, 10 minutes after the restart, still leading by a goal. He would turn provider. Yes, 10 minutes after the break, rolls through Vissa, who gets our second goal in the game. And this guy's been really low-key underrated this season. I haven't really mentioned him that much, but he's chipped in with a few goals here and there. Couple of assists as well. We know the guy's got electrifying pace, and as we've seen in real life, his game winner against West Ham on the weekend. He definitely looks like a great signing for the Bees this season. He's been really useful in the game, starting up top alongside Ivan Toney. And when he ran through one-on-one there, I don't know if you noticed it, but the guy that was the chaser, if you will, Grant Hanley. Look, the Scot, I really like Grant Hanley. I think he's a brilliant old-school centre-half. There's a great episode with him on the High Performance podcast. Well worth listening to, by the way. But he was never going to catch up to Vissa there. He's never been known for his pace, has he? But still, a minute to go in the game. Norwich were really pressing in the final 15 minutes. They were down by 2 goals. They needed a miracle late on if they were going to claim a point in this game. We were defending really well though. Some big blocks, including from the youngster Sean Pratt as well, who came into the first team since his pro contract being signed and done really well. But thankfully, despite Adam Idah coming off the bench, grabbing a late goal for the Canaries, we would hold on for the 3 points and a massive victory. No wins in our last 6 Premier League games, but talk about redemption for Brentford. Progress in the FA Cup, heading into the quarterfinals, where as you can see we've got Arsenal away from home. That's our second game of today's episode here at the Emirates Stadium, and a massive win in the relegation 6-pointer against the Canaries at Carrow Road, putting us 6 points clear of Daniel Farke's side. Yeah, I'll say this right now. A big moment in the season. And the question was, could we build on that? The question was, could we now close out the campaign strong and maybe even reach Wembley as well? We'll win this game against the Gunners here at the Emirates Stadium in the FA Cup quarterfinals. And that's exactly what we would do. Having said that, sometimes you just don't get the luck. 8 minutes into this game, Nicolas Pepe turns in a rebound after the first shot at the post and came straight back to him. So we were a goal down as Arsenal took a very early lead. But 17 minutes in, Arsenal were putting the pressure on early, had a great chance to make it 2 as well. Aubameyang's shot, well saved by David Raya, and I could see right from the very first whistle, despite back-to-back victories, this was going to be tough indeed to make it 3 straight. I was going to give up though, and I was going to go at Arsenal and be brave, and 28 minutes in, looking for a leveller. Josh De Silva finds Jakobsen into Ricky J. Jones, and I'll be totally honest here. I mentioned a moment ago that the Nicolas Pepe goal was a little bit unlucky. Well, what's that saying we love? Luck will balance itself out. But this was ridiculous, and I'll be honest here, when this goal went in, I kind of slumped in my seat a little bit, looked a little bit sheepish, because this is just one of the worst own goals I've ever seen in FIFA. I mean, what on earth was that? Yeah, J. Jones' shot well saved by Leno, but the rebound, I have no words for that, absolutely no words. And I felt it was one of those goals where you feel kind of like embarrassed to score it, you know, because you didn't really score it. The AI just completely messed up and gifted you a goal, gifted you a leveler. I felt kind of bad equalising through that way, so when Aubameyang made it 2-1, I was kind of like, obviously not relieved to see it, because listen, this is the FA Cup quarter-final. You best believe that no matter how I get through, I want to get through to the semis, but I don't really want to do it that way, you know. So yeah, Aubameyang makes it 2-1, the Gunners were back in front. To be fair, in this game as well, despite Arsenal being the better team, we did have chances. 13 minutes after the restart, Ricky J. Jones' shot going tamely wide the post, as it was still 2-1. But yeah, despite the fact we had a few chances in this game, the Gunners put us under immense pressure throughout the entire match. I couldn't cope with their pressing in this one. With a minute to go after Raya made a great save, I failed to get the ball clear on 2 separate occasions, and goodness gracious me, Alexandra Lacazette makes it 3-1, and that would wrap the game up, and the limbs in the home end were totally justified. That's one of the goals of this season right there, and the celebration to match as well. I got to be honest, I mentioned before, like the AI shots from range this year are so OP. And in a way, I kind of like it as well, because in previous FIFAs, the AI were kind of like, they were a bit too scared to go for a goal from range, you know what I mean? But nowadays, it's like, you can't just contain and say, come break us down. If you give them a little bit of space on the edge of the area, they'll let fly. And believe me, oftentimes they'll find the top corner. So it's just another way of, you know, making the challenge more greater. And I mentioned before, you see the progress there for Arsenal, there through alongside Chelsea, Liverpool and Leicester City, who they'll be facing in the FA Cup semi-finals. I've mentioned many times before, I'm really enjoying as Ivan Toney gets his first England call-up. I'm so proud. I'm really enjoying the challenge of this year's FIFA, you know. I know some people are quite frustrated about the gameplay this year, and they can find the game a little bit too challenging to play. If that's the case, then feel free to drop the difficulty if that's the problem you're having right now, but I'm really liking it, you know. Right now we're just above the relegation zone. Yeah, we've had some good cup runs, don't get me wrong, but I think it's so challenging. Every point we pick up is you know, needed to be grinded out for the most part. Yes, we had a couple of big wins along the way, but for the most part, it's just been a really difficult season, but I'm really liking it. The challenge is far greater. There's a lot less exploits to use on the AI this year on Ultimate. Again, you can't contain, you can't just force them wide, you can't just utilise the pace you might have. It's just a lot more of a difficult challenge this year, and I'm really enjoying it. So for the third and final game of today's episode, right before the international break, taking on Leicester City away at the King Power Stadium here. This was a massive game for both teams, and Wissa does it once again, 8 minutes in, and this guy is coming alive towards the end of the campaign. Our number 11 turns in the cutback and gives us the opening goal, firing past the Dane, Kasper Schmeichel. I gotta say, you know, again, I haven't really talked about him as much this season because Tony sort of overshadowed him, but he really has been a great strike partner for our number 17, and 22 minutes in, a chance to make it 2. Once again, we're attacking down left hand side. It's Rico Henry going forward, cutting it back, and then Buemo probably should have made it 2. Fabulous save by the son of Peter as Kasper turns over the bar for a corner. So it's still 1-0, and really going at the Foxes in the early stage, you know, going for our 3rd win in 4 in all competitions, showing no mercy against the side right now, going for a European spot. But 32 minutes in, a really quick little breakaway from Leicester saw James Maddison, the former Canary, turn in from close range and make it 1-1. So yeah, Leicester back on level terms heading into the break. But in the second half, again, not being faced by the challenge here against Brendan Rodgers' side and being away at the King Power as well. Still feeling confident we could get something from this game, if not all 3 points. And 53 minutes into the game, it is 3 goals in 2 for Wissa, coming alive 8 minutes after the restart, volleying in the cross, celebrating in front of the travelling fans in the corner as we retake the lead here against Leicester City, going for a European place and stun the King Power silent. So 2-1, Brentford in front, and right from then it was like all hands on deck, man. Don't throw away these 3 points to the King Power like we did at the Emirates not too long ago. This will be a massive result. David Raya was making some brilliant one-on-one saves. We were still leading by a goal, and from this latest save, 13 minutes on the clock, a chance to break. Ricky J. Jones with the 1-2 with Ryan Niambe. And less said about the shot, the better. Yeah, the former Blackburn Rovers right back, storming down the flank, but Yeah, terrible effort, still 2-1, could have wrapped the game up, couldn't do so, and in the final minute of normal time, Harvey Barnes denied by David Raya. Once again, the frustration for Brendan Rodgers on the sidelines was evident, but the celebration on my face was also clear. Final score, Leicester 1, Brentford 2. We definitely didn't deserve to win the game, I wouldn't say so, despite our XG being high. The Foxes had so many chances, but we got two players to thank for it. David Raya for some brilliant saves in the second half, but also Visser bagging the brace and giving us the 3 points. Massive victory there. Back-to-back wins in the Premier League, 2 huge away days, and we come through them both whilst our progress in the FA Cup is over at the last day. As you can see in the Premier League, with 8 games to go, we're up to 15th place, and we've got a 4-point gap on West Ham, and have the game in hand as well. It's certainly not over yet, but a big couple of wins right there. But that was this episode of Career Mode, guys. Big thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, if you haven't, please drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of Career Mode very soon.